Welcome to Trust Talks with BBB Serving CT. I'm Kristen Johnson. In business, Trust Talks and Better Business Bureau's mission is to enhance marketplace trust. In each one of our episodes, we hope to give you a better idea of what to look for, what to look out for, and what to expect so you can spend your money wisely and avoid being scammed. Well, anyone who owns a light bulb knows electricity ain't cheap. In fact, Connecticut has some of the highest electricity rates in the country. Listen to this. The cost grew 12% between November of 2022 and November of 2023. The rising price of energy is turning some onto solar energy. In 2020, solar energy contractors ranked 69th out of the more than 5,000 industries BBB looks at. In 2022, it jumped to 29th. David Mansulla is the owner of Suntastic Solutions out of Griswold, a BBB accredited solar energy company. Dave, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
We have a lot to learn. First of all, though, tell us a little bit about your business, Suntastic Solutions.
Sure. Suntastic Solutions is a veteran-owned solar consulting, contracting, and designing company that works directly with SunPower, who is a worldwide company who's been installing solar systems for over 38 years. And we have become kind of a one-stop shop, solar shop for our clients. So if they need a new roof, if they need tree removal, then they can come to us and also get those quotes from our trusted vendors. And our Guaranteed Roofing does a great job with roofing. So that way they can get all the quotes, free quotes together, and then compare and then choose the right path for them.
And that's another accredited business. Well, this is an industry that is getting more attention by the minute. I'm sure you've noticed it.
Oh, yeah.
It stands to reason that if more people are buying a product, then there might be more complaints, and that is certainly true in solar. The number of complaints about solar energy contractors more than doubled between 2020 and 2022, from just under 1,600 to about 3,700 complaints filed to Better Business Bureau. Does that surprise you at all?
No, unfortunately it doesn't. It is a bit of the Wild West out there right now.
So there are obviously, like any industry, good guys and bad guys, but it's not the industry itself that's bad. It just seems that there's some bad actors that are giving solar a bad name. Would you agree?
100%.
One of the scams we commonly see reported to BBB works like this. Someone contacts you pretending to be a solar company salesperson. The representative has a special offer. They can install solar panels on your home for a very low cost or even for free. And this amazing deal is only available for a limited time, so you must act now. Okay, I'm going to pause for a minute. Are you seeing some red flags already?
Definitely. I mean, so, you should never give out your banking information or anything like that with a quote. So also, besides banking information, solar is free, even if it's a cash deal. There should be no money exchanged between you until the solar is actually installed on the roof.
Okay, let's continue. In some versions, they do ask you to fill out forms with your banking details, like you said, to see if you qualify. Other times, the solar representative claims they need you to pay upfront costs, which then they promise will be reimbursed by a government program. What are the red flags there?
So that's what we were just kind of talking about, where there should be no money up front. And you don't have to give any personal information, banking information, just your approval that they can run a credit check.
BBB Scam Tracker has seen numerous reports of this kind of scam. One homeowner was approached by a door-to-door salesperson, quote, claiming he could get me a new roof plus solar equipment with a government rebate of 26% off cost, essentially paying for a new roof. After doing the research, the homeowner found that while a government rebate program did exist, the salesperson misrepresented it to make the sale. So are there government programs right now?
Yes, there's great government programs, 30%, but no solar contractor that I know works with taxes, so nobody should be telling you what it's going to look like for you. I always, say to people that they should consult their tax expert to see what it's going to look like for them. And then there's also state programs that, can help incentivize homeowners as well. So they should go on the websites to look at those to see what's being offered.
Is there such thing as free solar?
No, there's no such thing as free solar. So what's happening with that, and you see that blasted all over the web, they're basically trying to get your personal information, your name, address, phone number, as much information as they can. And they'll promise you the moon. But then what they do is they take that information and sell it out all over the place. So then the homeowner is getting dozens of calls from people to go solar.
We've also heard of imposters representing legitimate solar companies. What questions should we be asking if someone comes to our door, or should we even trust someone that comes to our door selling solar door to door?
Sure, solar is sold door to door, but anybody coming to your home should have these two IDs. So that has my picture on it, and then if I flip it over, there's a home improvement salesperson from the Department of Consumer Protection. So those two IDs, and if you have a video doorbell, then what you can do is just ask them to present those IDs directly to the doorbell. That way you have a record of who showed up. So I think that's a good tip. And then what you should ask them is, I would ask them, do they design the system? If they don't design the system, it should be a conversation, then they're just there to make a sale. And if they do design the system, then you want to ask them, how long have they been designing systems for? Because like any art, you get better with practice.
That makes sense. Some consumers have also complained that they thought they were signing a quote, but in reality, they were signing a contract. Is that a common tactic of these bad actors?
So the way the bad actors, as you're saying, they always are keeping the goal lines moving. So yes, that can happen. You shouldn't have to sign anything to see a quote. I just go ahead and I send their email a quote, and they can just open it up and view it. They don't have to sign anything.
Okay, here are some of BBB's recommendations. First, before you accept an unsolicited offer, do some research on solar companies in your area. What should that research entail?
So the research on the solar companies, of course, go to your Better Business Bureau and see what's being said there. And just see what the reviews are on, basically on that business, what people are saying.
And then you want to know how long they've been in business. You were talking about,
Yeah,
whether they
absolutely.
design, what jobs they've done.
So with solar, because it is a long-term investment, bigger is definitely better. So that's one of the reasons why I contract for SunPower. They've been doing it for so long. And the size of the business does matter with that. You generally under, say 12, 14 years, it's just too young of a business, in my opinion, for something that's going to be on your roof for the next 25, 35 years.
And you want to know what other projects they've done, what other businesses they've worked with?
Sure. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Have they done major contracting for the government, solar contracting, big businesses? That all adds up to, that they've been around, that other people have trusted them, because you're going to vet them, sure, but nobody else is going to vet them better than some of the big businesses, that have had them do jobs.
Okay. Our next tip is don't give in to high pressure sales tactics.
Wow, that's bad. That's to me, that's a big one. So what they're trying to do is pressure you to make a decision on the spot. It's like trying to win the fight before the other person even gets into the ring. They just don't want any competition. So that should be a huge red flag, so that, if they're pressuring you to make a decision on the spot, show them the door.
Yeah, because you want that time to be able to do your research.
Absolutely.
Next is to get competing bids. So contact several solar installers if you plan on going solar, and get bids from each company. If someone is pulling a con, they will be much easier to spot this way. And then ask plenty of questions and consider the answers. Ask questions about any aspect of a contract or proposal you don't understand. If the company gets upset with your questions, refuses to answer them, or is vague with their answers, consider that a red flag. What is the most common question you get, Dave?
The most common question, it isn't really a good question to ask. It's understandable, but it's how soon if I sign up? So I will say about 3 months. But what if they just want to get your signature and they say, oh, it can be about as little as 14 days or something like that. So it's a valid question, but you got to be careful. It's going to be about 3 months for you to go solar, because you have to go through all the permitting promise.
And what is the question you think you wish your more prospective customers would be asking?
Sure. So they want to ask, about the company itself who's going to be doing the solar installation. They want to find out, are they publicly held or are they privately held? If they're publicly held, they generally have to adhere to a much higher standard. If they're privately held, they could be here today, gone tomorrow. Another question would be with the warranties. So are the warranties passed through? And here you want to be careful because the consultant might say, oh, you just call our home office. But who's actually backing the warranties? That's what's important. And the reasons why you want to not have pass-through warranties is because there could be finger pointing. Oh, it wasn't the panel's problem, it was the racking problem. So you really want just one warranty for the entire system. And the other thing would be about the warranty for labor. So having a warranty on the roof and all the things on the roof, 25 years, that's pretty typical. But the labor warranty can be as little as 10 years. So with SunPower, it's 25. But if it's a 10-year warranty, for example, then what happens in year 11 when you need to have some work done? I mean, all the money that you think you're saving is just gone now.
Interesting. So take me through the process from start to finish. They sign on the dotted line and then the design begins?
Yeah, okay, so for me it's different than a lot of solar. So for a lot of solar, it is what we call cookie cutter solar. So cookie cutter solar, they can literally get your bill and go ahead and have a design ready in 5 minutes and then say, here, sign here. So with me, what it looks like is just a discussion. We have a discovery discussion, a discovery call to find out what their needs are and things like that. And I'll ask a series of questions. Then I'll go ahead and take that information and design. Then I'll go back to them and show them the designs, and I mean design options for them to go forward with. We'll also discuss things like if they need tree removals, a new roof. Then the presentation. Then after the presentation, I'm watching them week after week as they're going through the pipeline. And they can call me. They don't have to call a 1-800 number. They can call me to get updates. Then there's installation day, which I always like to be there for installation day, and then beyond to activation.
You talked about the discovery part of this process. It's actually vital that the contractor be asking the consumer questions. What are the questions that you're asking?
Sure. There's a lot of questions that that you want to ask the client, like aesthetics. We sell different panels, so I want to find out their aesthetic preferences. Placement. I work with realtors quite often, so what happens, they may want it on the back of the home, so it's not, doing anything with curb appeal. Not everybody minds that, but if the client does, then I want to design the system the way they want. Those kind of questions, also their current use and future use, because you don't want to design a system and then find out that they just took ownership of an electric vehicle. So to build the system right, you have to ask those kind of questions and a lot others.
Let's talk about trees. One of your tips has to do with shading. What do you recommend if a property has a lot of trees?
Okay, so obviously there's people who have a lot of trees and then some with one or two. But what I want to do is go ahead and look at the whole situation. I can virtually remove those trees and then go ahead and let the homeowner decide with trees, without trees, this is what the system would look like. This is what the system would look like. I've seen as little as 2 or 3 trees removed, half the size of the solar system, which means it becomes much more cost effective.
How long does installation take?
Typically 1 day.
Okay, and does the property owner have any responsibilities during that time?
One responsibility, just have one person there.
Okay, so why is it important that the person selling the system be available during the installation process?
That's a Suntastic Solutions thing. I mean, there's other people who do it, but that is just, to me, it's good customer service. For one thing, I was there at the beginning, so for me to be there on the installation helps calm them if they have questions, things like that. I'll bring ice cold Gatorade for the installation crew and the homeowners, and also like things like pizzas and stuff like that, because they're stuck there for the day.
That's awesome. You say don't buy a solar system based solely on price. Why not?
Right, exactly. And this kind of comes back, just for one example, to the warranty. Again, it's so critical. So if I'm selling a transferable 25-year warranty, then and somebody else is selling a 10-year warranty, and then they're comparing just the price, just on that one facet of the business alone, well, of course they're going to sell it cheaper. They can sell it, to so.
What is the average cost? I'm sure it depends on the size of the roof and the house, but what would you say is the average cost of
That's
solar?
So hard because yes, the roof, the pitch of the roof, all those factors, how much power they need. I've sold solar systems for as little as probably 14,000, as much as 125 or more. So it can vary greatly home to home.
Okay. Can you actually make money after you install solar panels?
Yeah, so there are different state incentives that you want to look at that, and so that's just something that's always a moving target. So you want to see, but know that generally the utility provider will true up with you with, if you don't use as much. Like maybe you have some children that move out, and now you're producing a lot more than you were a few years ago. So there is a true up and things like that.
And there's different methods of paying. Can you go? I think there's 4 different ways you can pay. Can you go through each one of those for me?
Sure. So there's lease, loans, PPAs, which is power purchase agreements, and cash deals. And so, leases and PPAs are now pretty similar. Just like for us, a lease is 20 years and a PPA is 25. A cash deal should always be offered. And the reason why some people don't offer a cash deal is because it's making the banks and the company more money. But there's been so many times when my customers said, don't even show me the cash deal that I already created. I'll turn the computer to them and they'll be like, really? And I'll be like, yeah, when you take the banks out, yeah, that's what solar costs. So more often than not, they'll say, I'll just do a cash deal. So if you're not being offered a cash deal, then they're doing you a disservice. And a loan is a loan.
And something I've always wondered is, how does the weather impact? I mean, do you have backup power in case it's like a very cloudy season or very rainy?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So when I give a client a quote that the system that I'm showing them is, say, going to produce 10,000 kilowatts a year, that's based on our average rainfall, snowfall, and all of that. That is very accurate, within about 5%. So that includes, people will be like, well, solar doesn't work at night. Now, we've accounted for that. And, there is a harvest time for solar, which is the spring and summer. So you're producing so much power then that the grid is giving it back to you at nighttime, rainy days, things like that.
Now, you mentioned that you work with realtors a lot. Not everyone lives in their house for 25 years, which you say is sort of the lifespan of a solar equipment. How can solar impact a home's market value, or does it impact a home's market value?
It does. And that's why making the right decision is so important. Because not only let's say you sell out after 10 years of owning the solar system, you sell the home. So now is the warranty transferable? Well, that makes a big difference to the new homeowner, right? And then how reliable is the solar system? So people should always buy a solar system based on what some future owner may be thinking about their decision.
Okay. Can you take advantage of solar if you're a renter?
Not so much. What I would suggest to renters, if you're thinking you're going to be buying in the next year or so, is educate yourself about solar so that when you're looking at a home, for example, oh, this has a southwest facing roof. This is really good for solar.
Okay. And you mentioned an electric vehicle earlier. How does that play into this? Can it actually be powered through your solar system?
Right. So that's obviously going to be coming more and more in fashion as people are buying EVs. But unless you have a solar system and you're getting your energy from the sun, then you're not really doing that much good for the environment, because your electricity could be coming from the grid, from other not so clean sources. So if you really want to be environmentally conscious, then you want to have solar with your electric vehicle.
Okay. Well, now, we've received complaints from people who said they paid and then the contractor disappeared. And we hear this with contractors in all different industries. Unfortunately, there's a lot of bad actors, but BBB typically advises not to put down a large down payment when you're doing any sort of construction project. What is the typical pay schedule in this industry?
Sure. So if you're going to do a cash deal, for example, then the solar system will be on your roof before you ever ask for a dime. If you're doing a PPA or a lease, then what happens is you go all the way through the pipeline where we're pulling all the permits for you, no money given to us. The solar system gets installed. Then after the solar system gets activated, then you'll finally start to get your first solar bills, because at that point, the solar system is driving the electric bill into the ground.
Okay, that's good to know. I want to ask you about your accreditation, but before we move on to that, is there any other tips you have or anything I haven't asked you about solar that you want people out there to know?
Take good notes. That's so important. Take good notes. Ask a lot of questions. Don't buy based off emotion. Whether hey, I like that person who's in front of me selling solar. That's good, but after they sell solar, they're gone. So, I stick around till at least activation beyond, but most of the people who get the contract signed are gone. So you can't base this on emotion. You have to go by the facts.
And part of those facts you can get at bbb.org, of course, because we have reviews there. We have complaints. You can look at how companies have handled those complaints and say, hey, if I had that complaint and that's what this company came back with, would I be satisfied? And that can really educate you and help you on your way. Of course, we're seeing more and more pop up in neighborhoods. Talk to your neighbors, that just got the new solar panels on the roof. Ask them, how the experience was. Although I would think that you might not know until a little bit further down the line, correct? It's not something where it gets installed and right away you're happy or unhappy. You got to at least wait till you start getting those bills, right?
Well, yeah, and also I hear people talking about different solar companies like they're a name brand, that we all know. I won't mention name brands, but it's not like that in solar, because so many companies are too new that you can't really base it just off the name, unless they've been in business for 38 years.
Well, you have been accredited for 4 of those 38 years. What do you hope your accreditation says to your customers?
So, my accreditation is so important to me, because we work so hard for those 5-star reviews. And I know that people can go right onto the Better Business Bureau, which, while I'm talking about it, they should do for everybody who they're talking to. They should always go to the Better Business Bureau. But that means a lot to us, and they can get a snapshot right away to see what other people have said about Suntastic Solutions.
And we have something called Get a Quote, where people can actually just say, get a quote, and whether it's Suntastic Solutions or another business, they can get that quote within 24 hours, and they can even opt to get a couple extra quotes. I think we'll send out as many as 3 quotes all together.
Nice.
And there you've got your 3 quotes, and then you can continue to do more research, but at least that's a good starting point.
Yeah.
So, well, David, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your experience. I know I learned a lot today, and I'm sure all of our consumers and viewers out there did as well. David Mansulla with Suntastic Solutions.
Thank you, Kristen.
And thank you all for joining us for Trust Talks. We hope you join us next time as we explore more industries and show you how to spend your money wisely and avoid being scammed. We'll see you next time.
The Saybrook Fish House in Canton has been serving fresh seafood, chicken, and prime steaks for 40 years. Experience one of our 3 unique dining room settings, 2 with fireplaces, or relax in our cozy pub with a craft beer, wine by the glass, or specialty cocktail while enjoying a meal from our new lighter fare pub menu. Serving lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Reservations accepted for parties of 2 to 42. Gift cards always available. The Saybrook Fish House, nestled at the crossroads of routes 44, 202, and 179 in Canton.
Follow us on Instagram at nutmeg.tv.